Well, hello. Hey, do me a favor. Raise your hand if you have some really good friends. Like if you love your friends, your friend group. If you have that. Okay, let me see. Okay, if you're not raising your hand, you need a new friend group because everyone has to have some good friends. And I don't know if you know this or not, but it doesn't matter what friend group that you're in. Every single friend group has the same type of people in it. Did you know this? So if you can look at any type of friend group, it has the same type of people. Let me walk you through some of them and tell me if you do not have one of these friends inside of your friend group. Okay, first one, every friend group has a funny friend. Okay, it's a funny friend. So this friend, you literally just put a quarter in them, and they just talk for 3 hours. It's amazing. They're funny. Half the stuff that they say is inappropriate, but you forgive them because they're your funny friend, right? They're your funny friend. Every friend group has a rich friend. They have the rich friend. You know what friend that is? This is the friend's house that you always go to because they have all the best stuff. They have the house because they have a never-ending snack bowl. Like it's always full of just delicious food. And you always end up there. This is the friend where you go to lunch with them. And tell me you don't do this because I do this is you pretend like you're going to reach for your wallet, but you're really not because you're with your rich friend. You know they pay for it. Exactly. I know, you liars. I know it. But every friend group, they have the rich friend. Every friend group also, and you need this one. This is a good texting friend. Like this is the friend where you don't talk back and forth. All you do is just send memes back and forth to each other. You know what I'm talking about? Like that's how you communicate in normal conversation. Is that you just need that friend because here's something you do not text me. Okay, and it's this. Okay, you don't just text me that. Okay, because I need emotions, I need emojis and gifs and memes, I need that kind of stuff. Every friend needs a good texting friend when it comes into conversations. Now, and the people said amen, right? Every friend group has has a low maintenance friend, okay? Here's what the low maintenance friend. Low maintenance friend is this, it's that person who says, hey, can I come over? And you say yes, and they say, good, I'm already in your driveway, right? It's like that kind of friend where you can invite them over, you can put on a movie, you don't have to speak for 3 hours, not a word could be uttered, but you're okay with just being present together, right? It's like that low maintenance friend. They don't care if they weren't invited to the party. Why? Because they're the low maintenance friend. Me, super high maintenance. I care deeply, right? That's who I am. Okay, every friend group has the always down friend. Okay, do you know what this friend is? The always down. So you can literally call them up right now and say, yo, let's drive to the Grand Canyon tonight. And they'd be like, down, let's go. I'll drive, right? They don't have a job, they don't have money, but they're always down. Always down. Now, every friend group also, I don't know if you know this or not, but every friend group, they have the kind of annoying, but they kind of like you sometimes friend. Okay, now, if you're going, we don't have that friend in our group. I hate to break it to you tonight, but you're that friend. Because all the other friends in the group, they know about that friend, and if you don't know about that friend, most likely you're that friend. I'm sorry. Someone had to come all the way out to Southern California to let you know that. Maybe that was you, I don't know. See, in every friend group, they have this last friend. It's the flaky friend. You know what I'm talking about? It's that friend that says they're always going to show up, that they're always going to be at that thing, but then 10 minutes before, they text you like, oh, I can't go. Oh, I got homework. Oh, I got chores. Oh, I got all these things. Every friend has that. Every group has the flaky friend. Now, here's the deal. I had this friend in high school named Jeff, and Jeff was the flaky friend. Jeff was a friend that I grew up playing baseball. We were on the high school baseball team together. We became good friends over the years, but here's the thing. Jeff, he was my flaky friend, but he was also the friend who had zero idea about church, Jesus, God, nothing. Didn't grow up with it, had no concept. He thought I was this weird dude who wasted his time on Sundays to go serve or to go to church or do whatever it is, to go to summer camp, whatever it is. But Jeff was my flaky friend, and I would always invite him to our service on Sunday night for high school, and he would always tell me that he would come, but he never did. Literally, on Sunday nights, I would invite him and say, dude, I will come. And then it's almost like clockwork. About 5 minutes before the service was about to start, I could almost count it down, like 3, 2, 1, cue text from Jeff. Boom. I can't come. I got chores. Oh, my mom said I can't come. Oh, I got homework. Or, oh, I just don't want to. Or whatever it is. But always it came down to this. So one night, we were having this big event at our church, and it was like a big neon blacklight dance party thing, right? And so I told Jeff, I was like, Jeff, listen, dude, you're the flaky friend. You flake on everything. You tell me you're going to come, but you never come. But this means so much to me. I think you're going to have a good, it's a blacklight dance party. How can you not want to go? There's going to be blacklight dodgeball. There's going to be free tacos, because who doesn't love tacos? Jeff, there's going to be cute girls there. I was literally throwing everything I had at Jeff. Like, Jeff, it means so much to me. I need you to come. And he says, Justin, I promise on my friendship, I will be there. And I said, yes, I got him, right? Like, that's like, yes. So Sunday night comes. I'm already at church. I'm helping set up. I'm there with my friend Kevin. About 30 minutes before the service starts, I get a text from Jeff. And he says, oh, I can't come. I'm not coming tonight. And so I look at the phone. I show my friend Kevin. I didn't say anything. I just showed him the text from Jeff. And we both just kind of nodded because we knew what we had to do. We had to kidnap Jeff. Yeah. So I'm already decked out for the neon dance party, right? So I got my neon shorts, I got my fanny pack, I got my tank top on, I got my headband, I'm ready to go. Party, right? So let's go. So I grab my friend Kevin, we jump in my truck, we drive over to Jeff's house, and everyone knew where Jeff's house was. His parents loved me, and he was the rich friend, so everyone was always at his house all the time, right? So we walk up to his door, and I go and I literally kick open his front door, didn't knock or anything. His parents were in the front room. I scared them. They thought they were being broken into. They finally noticed that it was me and Kevin. I'm like, oh, it's just you guys. Jeff's upstairs. And so I run upstairs to Jeff's room. This is right when the movie 300 came out, so I was literally Sparta kicking everything, right? And so I went up to Jeff's door. I Sparta kicked Jeff's door, and Jeff's on his bed playing video games. So I kick open the door, and here's Jeff. Here's his response. And he looks at us. He's like, "I'm gonna go tonight, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, you are." Even brought you your neon stuff, right? So we got it. We all dressed, and we went to the church that night. We made it. He was coming. Right? Friends are such a big deal. If you love your friends, you spend a lot of time with them. And the thing about friends is that you become more and more like them. I tell my students all the time, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? They say that the 5 people that you spend the most time with is the people that you will become most like. So if I could take a look at the 5 friends that you hang out with the most, I could give you a pretty good picture of where you're going in the future. And the thing is, our friends, they influence us because we take on their characteristics. But here's the thing that sometimes I think we forget. Yes, our friends influence us, but we also influence them because we spend the same amount of time with them. And we have the chance to influence our friends as well. And so that's why when we're talking about this story tonight of Elijah and Elisha, we see what happens when someone is intentional with their relationship with someone else. We see what's could happen, what God could do when someone literally is obedient to God, he seeks after someone and takes them under his wing, is intentional with the relationship, and God literally changes everything. So we're going to continue tonight in 1 Kings 19, as we pick up this story of Elijah where he gets to meet Elisha. So it's going to be up on the screen. We want you to follow along and check out the intentionality of Elijah, okay? Starting in verse 19, it says, so Elijah went from there to find Elisha, son of Shaphat, not Snapchat. That's what I thought when I first read it, okay? It's so that's just so we're on the same page. I'm with you when it comes to that.
See, he was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12 pair of steers. So Elisha, he was rich. He was flexing, right? Like he was out there. He had land. He had animals. He had a plow. But here's the thing. He worked for it. He didn't need to be out there, but he probably didn't need to be out there. But he was out there getting his hands dirty, being out in the field. He had everything. If you read the context, he was rich. He didn't need anything else. And if we're honest, when we look at some of our friends, this is why we don't approach them or talk to them about our faith, because we think we will inconvenience them. Oh, they're fine. Oh, they got it all together. Oh, they got it all good to go. If I were to walk up to them, I don't want to inconvenience them with my faith or whatever it is by inviting them to church or inviting them to small group or inviting them into these things. But here's the thing that we have to know, and we'll begin to discover this throughout this story, is we have no idea what God could do through one conversation. We have no idea. So continuing on, Elijah went up to him, Elisha, and he threw his cloak around him. So this is him saying like, hey, Pikachu, I choose you, right? Like, I'm bringing you along with me. I'm literally putting my arm around you. I'm bringing you underneath my wing. I'm going to be intentional with you. I'm going to invade your life. I'm going to invite you into all the things that God has offered to you, and I'm going to walk with you along these things. And we're going to see what happens. I'm going to be involved with you. In verse 20, Elisha then left his oxen, and he ran after Elijah. He says, let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, he said, and then I will come to you. And go back, Elijah replied, for what have I done to you? And so Elisha left him, went back. He took his yoke of oxen, and he slaughtered them and burned the plowing equipment and took the meat and gave it to his people, and they ate. Okay, hold up for a second. That's really intense. Like, could you imagine if you felt like God was calling you and you go home and you burn all of your possessions and then kill all your pets, right, and then feed them to your friends? Like, that's intense, right? Like, that's crazy. That's kind of like what's happening. But here's the thing. Elisha literally said, okay, God is calling Elijah, and he's calling through God, he's calling me to go with him. And he's saying, I'm all in. We can't assume that Elijah knew what Elisha was going to respond with. And Elisha is saying, he's doing this, he's saying, I want nothing to go back to, because all I want to do is obey God. And here's the thing, is that we literally do not know what could happen if we are intentional with one person. See, we're actually not called to change anybody. We don't have that power. I don't have the power to even change myself. But here's the thing. We are called to obey. We are called to be obedient. And it's amazing what happens when we're obedient to God in this certain area of our faith, that we get to see God do some pretty amazing things. So we see Elijah going out to find this one person, the one person that God has led him to bring him alongside, to bring him under his wing. And God calls us to reach others as well. He calls each and every one of us to go out and to reach others. And I love Elisha's response, because it's actually pretty amazing that he left everything to go with Elijah. He seemed like he had it all together. He seemed like he had a pretty wealthy family. Seemed like he had everything that he needed. He didn't seem like he was in want in any way, shape, or form. But he dropped everything and he chose to follow God. And it's amazing when we choose to obey God in this one area that it helps us find our purpose. Because if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Do you know why it helps us find our purpose? It's because I find purpose when God sends me to reach others. I find part of my purpose, the thing that I'm here on this planet to do, is when I realize that God sends me to go ahead and reach others. See, if you've been a part of this thing called Christianity for any length of time, whether you grew up in the church or maybe you did, there's this big churchy word called evangelism. Evangelism is the idea of going out and sharing your faith with other people. And a lot of us, if we're honest, we think that when it comes to this church word evangelism, that we think it's that person that's up on the stage. So I need to be the guy or the girl up on stage teaching the Bible and preaching to all my friends. Or I need to be the guy or the girl to go up and stand up on the lunch table in the middle of the quad in school with the Bible in hand and preach the Word of God. Maybe that's what God has called you to do, but that's not exactly what evangelism is. What if I told you it's way simpler than that, but it's way more effective? What if I told you that all you have to do, and what if you were not to worry about reaching everybody, but what if for the rest of the year, you were just to focus on one? We'll come back to that. But before we could even talk about why, like going out to reach others, I want to talk about why we don't. Like, why don't we? What are the things that are literally keeping us from going out to the one person, to sharing about our faith, to sharing about what we do, why we're at a summer camp, why do we go to small group, why do we go to church, why do we go to youth group, whatever it is. What is it that we do not go out and share? Because if we say, and we say that we love our friends, that we know the all-loving, all-powerful God who could literally change their entire life, yet we still refuse to share. So why don't we? Have you ever thought about why we don't? I'm sure you've fallen into these three things that I'm going to talk about, because I you know how I know is because I fall into it too. It's something that I struggle with even as a pastor that has conversations and gets to preach the word of God to others all the time. And I think that there's a few reasons in which why we are so paralyzed on not sharing our faith, not even with just one. And so the first thing that I think, if you want to write it down, I think it's a great thing that you do, but I think the first thing that keeps us paralyzed is this word called complacency. Complacency is literally it's okay with how things are. It's okay with the status quo. It's fine. You're okay with everything just the way that it is. And I think we need a reminder for us that if you think about it, when you're at school, you are literally surrounded by your friends 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. People who are literally dying eternally. People who do not know who Jesus is. And often we do not even share or say a word to them. Because if we're honest, we're just okay with how things are. We don't want to ruin the relationship, or we think it's going to ruin it, or what's going to happen. And here's the thing that we have to understand. If we are not careful, we will spend more time worrying about how we finish out the year rather than where our best friends spend eternity. Just because we think we don't want to mess anything up, we're complacent with where things are. And I know some of you are going, whoa, Justin, that is strong. Let's pump the brakes for a little bit. I liked you better when you were drawing poop stories with Caleb, right? Let's go back to that, Justin. But here is the thing. This is so important that there's people in our lives who we say with our mouths that we love. That we could literally go our entire life without even sharing about this person of Jesus. To share about our faith. That we know that they're trapped and bonded in their sin, yet we don't share the one way that we know how to get out of it. To be freed from those things. That Jesus' last days on this earth, he gave us the Great Commission, right? Matthew 28, go out and make disciples in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Baptize them, right? Go out into the world. And sometimes we treat the Great Commission as if it's the Great Suggestion. Or as if it's the great, well, maybe if I will get around to it one day. Or maybe it's the great, if the opportunity presents itself. But that's not what Jesus says in this moment. And I was trying to figure out why. See, it's a second thing that I think another reason why is this word comfort. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I love to be comfy. Do I wish I was in my comfy sweats right now? Yes, I do. Do I wish I was in my Ugg slippers right now? They're like walking on clouds. When I go on vacation, my wife and I went on vacation just 3 weeks ago. I love, she gets so embarrassed because whenever we go to a hotel, of course I wear the hotel robes because they are so comfy. Yes, and I wear them down to the continental breakfast in front of everybody. Don't judge me. It is wonderful. See, I love to be comfy. My favorite kind of vacations, yeah, clap for comfy. My favorite type of vacations is going somewhere hot so I could be sitting in something cool, right? That's what I love. See, you know how I know this? The truth is, it's uncomfortable to talk about your faith sometimes. Yes? It's uncomfortable to bring up Jesus in a conversation sometimes. It's uncomfortable to explain to others why you do or you don't do certain things sometimes. And I was trying to figure out why. Why is it so uncomfortable for us to sometimes share our faith, myself included? And I think it comes down to this, is that we care more about what they think about us more than what Jesus wants to do in their life. We care, right? Yes or no? We care a lot about what other people think. So we care more about what they think about us and our faith and what we do more than what Jesus wants to do in their life. And we would be like, would we be willing to get uncomfortable? Like, guys, we get uncomfortable by going to try a new restaurant. We get uncomfortable by trying to try a new food or a new coffee shop, but we won't get uncomfortable to share about the life-changing power of our Savior Jesus. That we care about more what they think about us. We care more about our status, and we don't want to be that guy or that girl. Now let me ask you something. What if someone's eternity could change on the other side of a potentially awkward conversation? Just think about that for a second. Someone's eternity could change by you being a little uncomfortable in talking about your faith. What if your best friend could meet Jesus and begin to chase something that actually matters? To give them a hope and a future and a purpose. But the one thing that is holding them back is a conversation that we are not willing to have. Elisha had it made. He was rich, he had a good family, he had land. When he was called, he went back to torch all of his stuff, to move forward into a life of uncomfortableness, to be used by God. And I've noticed in my own walk with Jesus is that it's when I am uncomfortable that's when I see God show up more than ever, because I'm more dependent on him for my actions, for my words, for my thoughts. That it's when I'm uncomfortable that's when I see God show up in my life more than ever. And I believe the same could be for you as well. The third thing that I think that actually keeps us from going out to be like Elijah, to go out and share our faith, to put our arm around someone, is this third word, and this is the biggest one for me. It's selfishness. And here's a question that I think it's the biggest question because it's a daily question, and I'm not going to lie to you, I hate this question. Here's the question. Am I willing to give up my plan for his plans? Am I willing to give up my plans for his plans? Because it's a huge question, it's a daily question, and it's a hard question. You know why? I love my plans. I'm really good at making plans. I don't know if you know this or not. Whenever my friends or family need plans to be made for an event or a party, guess who they come to? Me. You know why? My plans are awesome. They're wonderful plans. The comfort and excitingness that I've planned for my life is pretty dang sweet. And here's the thing, the tension is that my plans springs from my selfishness. My plan springs from my selfishness. And I'm guessing I'm not the only selfish person in the room, am I? Okay, you want how I know I'm selfish? Okay, everyone, do you have a spot in your room? Like in your house? Like it's your spot. Maybe it's your bed. It's like you go to relax, right? In my house, it's the L-shaped couch that I have in my living room, right? And it's in that corner piece, right? And right in the corner, everyone in my house knows that it's my spot. My 2-year-old son, Graham, knows it's my spot. My wife knows it's my spot. Even my cat knows that when Dad comes home, you're out of my spot. That's my spot. Why? Because it's the comfy spot. I'm the selfish person. That is my spot. And here's the thing. The other day, and this is how I know I'm selfish, I had a whole bunch of friends over. They're all in the living room. I'm a really good host, and I'm getting all like the snacks and stuff ready, and I was getting all these dips ready, because if you didn't know that my favorite kind of food is any food you dip into any other kind of food, right? Like that's my favorite. So I was getting this whole smorgasbord of dips all up in this place, and I got this platter, and I walk into the living room, and I see my friend Kevin. Freaking Kevin, okay? Kevin's in my spot. He's in the L part of that spot, and I said, freaking Kevin, what are you doing? He's like, I'm waiting for all the dips that you're making us. And I said, Kevin, you don't get no dips. Go sit in the corner. You sit on the floor. You're in my spot. Don't judge me. I feel really judged right now real quick. Like, it got really silent in this room. I feel just eyes of judgment happening in front of me. That was my spot. Freaking Kevin, right? Like, that's like, he was in my spot. That's how I know that I'm a selfish person. 2 things you need to know about me. I don't share food, and you don't sit in my spot. Freaking Kevin. Okay. I'm over it. I'm getting over it. It's fine. It's going to be okay. So here's what I know, is that being a disciple of Jesus is losing my plans to his plans. It's losing my plans to his plans. It's saying, okay, God, I'm choosing not to be selfish. I know what I want to do, but I'd much rather do what you want me to do, and it's making his way my priority. And here's the thing. Here's what I've noticed in the last 10 years working with students, and not even just students, but just people. Here's what a lot of Christians do. They believe in Jesus until following him messes with their plans. They believe in Jesus, they're all good, they're all in, but until Jesus calls them to do something that they don't want to do or it doesn't go with their plans, then they kind of back away from those things. And then they still choose to do their own thing, and then there's act surprise when it doesn't work out for them. Or they're act surprise when it doesn't lead them to blessing, but instead it slams them into pain. And most of the pain and the heartache that I've noticed always points back to this, is that people choose their way over Jesus' way, almost every single time. Lots of the pain that we experience, if we're being honest, stems from us choosing to live a life of selfishness. And when we follow Jesus, when we truly follow Jesus, here's the thing that I've also noticed, and it helps when it comes to sharing your faith, because when you really follow Jesus, people will begin to notice that there's something different about you. Because here's what I've noticed also, that it's literally, if you truly know who Jesus is, it is literally impossible for you to remain the same person. If you really are following him, if you're really seeking after him, if you're really pursuing him, he begins to mold you and change you from the inside out. It is literally impossible for you to not become a different person, because he's constantly working inside of you. So these are the things that I think that literally keep us from going out and being like Elijah and saying, okay, I'm going to go out and reach someone and share about my faith. It's either you're complacent, you're okay with how things are right now. That means you're either comfortable, you just don't want to get uncomfortable or have the possibility of being uncomfortable. Or 3, at our core, we are selfish. That we like doing the things that we like to do rather than what Jesus actually calls us to do. And I fall into some of those things at times, even as a pastor. But when we read this passage about Elijah and Elisha, we see how intentional Elijah is with Elisha. We see him walk up to him. He didn't know what God was going to do. He didn't know how he was going to respond. All Elijah did was be obedient to what God has called him to do and let God work on Elisha. See, we're not called to change anyone. We can't. We don't have that power, but we are called to be obedient and point that person to the one who can change them. Elijah came next to Elisha. He put his arm around him. He put his cloak around him. He invited him into the life that God has for him. Walked him through the process. And guess what, students? We're called to do the same. We're called to do the same thing. Why? Because I find purpose when God sends me to reach others. I find part of my purpose when God sends me to reach others. You have zero idea what God could do through one single conversation. You have zero idea what God could do through one single invite. You have no idea what God could do through one single prayer that you pray for the heart of your friend who is far from God in hopes that they could come near to God. That when we follow through on Jesus' commands, of us, we will see him work in us in ways that we've never thought he ever would. So my friend Jeff, he went with us to church that night. Right? Neon black light dance party, dodgeball, tacos. And here's the thing. Nothing happened. There's no life change in that moment. There was no decision to follow Jesus. It was just a normal night. The only difference is that Jeff came because we kidnapped him. But here's what I do know, is that Jeff was kind of weirded out by the whole thing because he didn't grow up in the church. He had zero context, zero idea. But all he saw in conversations afterwards was he said, I just had two friends who cared deeply about me and cared enough to kidnap me and bring me and kept on inviting me, that here's what happened, is that Jeff came back the next week. And then he came back the week after that. And Jeff started to be a little bit more consistent because he got to experience what was happening, a similar type situation as this. Jeff then later that summer came to our summer camp. And it was at that summer camp, months later, where Jeff, he pulled the switch. He gave his life to Jesus. He finally said, okay, God, I see you. You're real. I understand who you are. I understand what you have done for me. And it took a little bit, but all it did, this is not just to pat myself on the back and say, good job, Justin. But this is just to show, like, man, you have no idea what could happen, what God could do, not only in the person that you invite, but through you. By going out and inviting someone to come and see. To come and see what is this all about. Just like Elijah did with Elisha. So when it comes to finding your purpose, we know that one of your purposes gets fulfilled when you go out and you reach someone else. And my question to you is this, as we kind of end tonight and we're going to go into a time of worship, my question to you is this: who is your Elisha? Like when I say someone who doesn't know who Jesus is in your friend group, it could be the funny friend, rich friend, flaky friend, whatever friend in that friend group that you have, who is your Elisha? Who's that one name? Instead of going out and pretending like we have to reach everybody, what if you were just to spend the rest of the year to be like Elijah to Elisha, where you go and be intentional with someone's life? Who's the name that pops into your head? What could happen? The one friend that you care enough about to literally invade their life. Listen, it's not a project. It's not someone who is broken who needs fixing, because we're all broken and we all need fixing. It's not something like to kind of say check mark off the box, but someone who you say that you care for deeply enough to say, okay, I'm going to put my arm around you and invite you in, walk alongside you, invade their life, invite yourself into their life to say, hey, how can I be praying for you? Hey, come to my small group. Hey, come to this event at our church. Hey, come to summer camp next year, where you literally for the rest of the year were to spend the energy to say, hey, come alongside me, because here's the thing. You have no idea what God could do. You find your purpose when you go out and reach others. And so who's your one? Who's that one person that God could use you to reach for him? See, our hope is to help you see that your role is to invest in others, and how your story is a part of God's bigger story, and how that reaching people is to invite them to be a part of that story as well. Watch God do what he does when we choose to obey him in just this one area. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. I think we will grow in our faith. And I think that we will see that one friend life be changed. So who's your one? Let's pray.